people in the place. I finally got back to the conspiracy book as I finally got a chance to read again. A chronological journey through secret societies and hidden histories by John Michael Greer. As his research continues, we read it and find out. We're in 1688, the Glorious Revolution. And as we just finished Elias Ashmole, funny how it almost looks like asshole, but one of the first inducted Freemasons in England. And then also it says his brother-in-law, Henry Manwaring. All right, put that aside. That's where we left off. Now, this is a portrait of William III, it says. Not a handsome man. Don't even look too happy. And even with that armor on, that man is a twerp. At least he looks like one. I put that all aside. James II, 1633 to 1701, the brother and successor of King Charles II, 1630-1685 of Great Britain, was neither a bad man nor a particularly bad king. He had, however, two catastrophic strikes against him. The first was that he had converted to Catholicism while he and his family were in exile in France after the English Civil War. The second was that he wanted to follow the lead of France's King Louis XIV, 1638 to 1715, and replace Britain's old-fashioned parliamentary system with an up-to-date tyranny. And a Protestant nation deeply suspicious of Rome and fiercely protective of its traditional liberties, these turned out to be a recipe for disaster. In 1688, as tensions between king and parliament reached the boiling point, William of Orange, 1650 to 1702, the husband of James' sister Mary, and the staunch Protestants set sail for England with an army. Most of James' own troops refused to fight for him and sided with the invader. In a matter of weeks, James was forced to flee to Ireland, where his remaining forces were crushed at the Battle of Boyne in 1619. While most Bretons set aside with new regiment, a significant minority stayed loyal to the Stuarts and came to be called the Jacobites, after Jacobus, the Latin word for James. It so happened that many leading Jacobites were Freemasons and used their Masonic connections to help recruit allies and further the Stuart cause. As a result, Freemasonry became a battleground between pro- and anti-Stuart factions, and the idea of using Masonic lodges and other secret organizations for political subversions began to spread through European culture. See also the 1715, First Masonic Grand Lodge, 1717, the Glamorgans, 1724, the 45, 1745. A portrait of William III, widely known as William of Orange, painted by William Wissing in 1689. In 1688, William played a dramatic and pivotal role in the Glorious Revolution, which brought an end to James I's reign. The last Roman Catholic monarch of England, Scotland, and Ireland, many of James' supporters, Jacobites, were also Freemasons and loyal to his cause. All right, so now we go into 1710. Christianity, not mysterious or a treatise, shewing that there is nothing in the gospel contrary to reason, nor above it, and that no Christian doctrine can properly call the mystery, by John Tolland, to which is added an apology for Mr. Tolland in relation to the Parliament of Ireland's ordering the book to be burnt. We need not defy a better evidence that any man is the wrong than to hear him declare against Refon and thereby to acknowledge that Reform is against him. Archbishop Tillotson, London, printed in 1702. The Chevaliers of Jubilation. John Tolland, 1670 to 1722, was one of the most controversial authors of the lively age. Born in Irish Catholic, he converted to Protestantism in his teen years and then veered off in his own direction. His first book, Christianity Not Mysterious, rejected the idea that any religion had a monopoly on the truth and urged that everything in Christianity contrary to the reason of common sense should be discarded, a stance that got the book publicly burned in Dublin. Moving into London, he wrote a stream of argumentative essays for the pamphlet press and soon found it necessary to spend time overseas. During a stay in the Netherlands between 1708 and 1710, he joined and probably helped found a secret society called the Chevaliers of Jubilation, which met in The Hague. Most of its members were exiles from France and had fled their country because of their opposition to the autocratic rule of King Louis XIV, 1638 to 1715. Their society was partly a drinking club and partly a private joke, but it also functioned as a conspiracy against political religious conservatism. The Chevaliers, between drinking bouts, accordingly devoted time to writing propaganda against Louis XIV regiment and smuggling into France. One of their projects was the most scandalous book of the 18th century, the Treatise of the Three Impostors, which argued that Moses, Jesus, and Muhammad were swindlers who manufactured fake religions to prey on the gullible and proposed a new pantheist religion of nature to replace them. The Chevaliers of Jubilation had little immediate effect on French politics over the longer run. Through their efforts helped lay the foundations for the French Revolution, and their methods of subversion through satiric propaganda were adopted by many later secret societies. See also the French Revolution, 1789. Man, can you believe that? They made that up about Jesus, Moses, and Muhammad. Goes to show these people stoop to any level. Christianity Not Mysterious was printed in 1702. John Tolland, the author of the inflammatory book, helped found the Chevaliers of Jubilation, an underground organization that thrived on bonhomie, lots of drinking, and conspiracy. Although the organization's conspiracy against religious and political conservatism did little to affect change, other secret societies adopted their take on political subversion and made good use of it. So that was the inspiring notion to other secret societies at that point, to gain in secret, to manipulate the masses. That's when James Stewart, devout Catholic and pretender of the British throne, is shown in the 18th century print as he sets foot on Scottish soil in Peterhead on December 22nd, 1715. His mission was to rally support from other Britons who wished to unseat George I, a staunch Protestant and the first king of Britain's House of Hanover. The 15, we're in 1715. Supporters of the ousted House of Stuart were jubilant when Queen Anne of Britain, 1665 to 1714, died childless in 1714. They believed that Parliament would have no choice but to invite the son of James II, 1633 to 1701, to assume the British throne as James III, 1688 to 1766. The younger James Stewart was a devout Catholic, and his candidacy was backed by the Vatican and the powerful French King Louis XIV. 1638 to 1715. Many of James' allies thus dreamed of seeing Britain forced back into the Catholic fold, a prospect that most Protestants in Britain regarded with horror. There was, however, another heir prince, George of Hanover, 1616 to 1727, a staunch Protestant who was the grandson of James I's daughter Elizabeth. Parliament duly offered him the throne, and George I became the first king of Britain's House of Hanover. Frustrated in his hopes, James Stuart landed in Scotland in 1715 and raised the standard of rebellion. The Jacobite plan depended on their conviction that the common people of Britain would rise up and back them and throw out the Hanoverians, but that belief turned out to be hopelessly mistaken. With little popular support, the rebellion fizzled out. Troops loyal to the Hanoverian government closed in, and James and most of his followers had fled back to France. The failure of the 1715 rising turned out to have immense consequences for Freemasonry in the wider world of secret societies. Many leading Jacobites were Masons and had used their Masonic connections to recruit allies for their cause. In response, supporters of the Hanoverian cause lodged lodges of their own as a struggle between Stuart and Hanoverian factions moved toward the final explosion in 1745. Secret societies came to play a central role in the fight. See the Glorious Revolution, 1688, the First Masonic Grand Lodge, 1717, and the 1745. And at this point, it makes you even wonder if it was all staged to fool the masses. Usually I do 3, but this time I'm doing 4. Now here's a picture of the First Masonic Grand Lodge. And I know there was back in the day when I was researching Sir Francis Bacon, I know he was somehow had part to do with this, but this goes back to this to the Stuarts and Hanoverians, it seems. So let's just read it and not speculate. And 1717, the First Masonic Grand Lodge. According to the Masonic historians, 4 lodges of accepted Masons meeting in London since time of immemorial agreed in 1717 to form a governing body. The representatives duly met on June 24th of that year, the feast day of St. John the Baptist, one of the 2 traditional patrons of the Masonic craft, at the Apple Tree Tavern in London, Covent Garden neighborhood, and there founded the Grand Lodge of England, the first Grand Lodge in the history of Freemasonry. A complex history lies between the actions by the first years of the 18th century. Lodges of accepted Masons existed in various corners of Scotland and England, some loyal to the exiled House of Stuart, others to the newly installed House of Hanover. The role of the Jacobite Freemasons in organizing the 1715 rising did not escape anybody's notice. Once fighting was over, the Hanoverian faction decided to keep further attempts at subversion in check by creating a Grand Lodge as a supervisory body for Masonry, with the right to issue and revoke charters for local lodges under the close supervision of Hanoverian government. The founding of the first Grand Lodge went on to have important consequences for the history of Masonry and the secret societies across the Western world. As Masonic Grand Lodges sprang up in other countries, and other organizations quickly adopted the same scheme, it also forced the Jacobites to find ways to evade the watchful eyes in Hanoverian Grand Lodges, and their efforts kick-started the emergence of the flurry of new Masonic organizations and launched the golden age of secret societies in Europe. You know, it says here, see the 15 and the 45. And here once again, the Apple Tree Public House as it appears today in London's Covent Garden, representative of the 4 ancient lodges of accepted Masons, met at the Apple Tree in 1717 in order to found the first Grand Lodge in the history of Freemasonry. And maybe that's how it got passed on to the Scottish, and they got the Scottish right. So the next will be the Gormagans. So until the next one, once again, this book is pretty interesting, and it's teaching us something as we keep going. You can never learn too much, and I'm a sponge, baby. See you soon, Roby 1.